Hello everyone. In this video, I'm going to demo some common Docker commands. So I'm assuming you have a general understanding of Docker, and if not, then I will put a couple of links in the description which you can follow to have the initial understanding of Docker before this video will make sense to you. I have put all the commands in my repository. I'll put a link to this in the description as well. So let's get started. First command is docker version. If you do docker dash dash version, it will show you the current version. Why this is important? That is because if you are stuck somewhere in Docker and you want to ask a question in the community, so the first thing you will need to provide is the version name, okay? Because the bugs in Docker may vary from version to version. So if you have a doubt and you want to ask in Stack Overflow, then you would probably need to give the version first. Next command is docker build. So if you have a Docker file ready, then you can use docker build command to build your image. So this is an example of a Docker file where I'm taking a base image from base image of Go, and then I'm building my application on top of it. So I can build the Docker file by command docker build, then -t, then any image name I want to give, followed by its version. So my image v1, let's say, and the Docker file is in my current repository. So I give the path to the Docker file. I need to correct the spelling of build. Okay, now it will start building the image. Okay, now the image is being built. So we can see the images by this command docker images, and here I can see my image and with a tag called v1, and this is the image ID and this is the size. So sometimes what happens is if you are continuously working on your project and you want to, you may need to build the image from scratch to ensure there is nothing stored in the cache, just to be absolutely sure that you are having the correct image running or the clean image running. So in that case, you will need to do docker build no cache and then followed by your image name and tag and the path to Docker file. Okay, so in this case, it will build the image from scratch again rather than taking anything that was already saved from the cache. Okay, next command is docker tag. So you might be aware of Docker Hub. So Docker Hub is a place where you can store all your images, and these images will be mostly publicly available. And to store here, you need to create a repository, and whatever is the name of your repository, you need to push to that repository only. So to do that, you may need to change the name of your local image. So in this case, the example can be docker tag, where you are re-tagging your local image and followed by whatever is your local image name, and then followed by the name of your repository slash then whatever name you have to give. Okay, so currently my image name is my image. So what I can do is docker tag followed by my image v1, and then what I can do, my repository name, my Docker Hub repository name, followed by, let's say, the same my image v1. Okay, now it is tagged. So now I can see, if I do docker images, I will see my modified tag of that image. So now what I can do is docker push that image, and now let's see if it pushes it or not. Okay, so now if I refresh my Docker Hub page, I can see. So here actually the first one is my ID name and the second one becomes a repository. So in this case, the repository becomes my id name slash my image, and if I click on it, then I can see an image being present with a tag v1 which I had just given. Okay, so I can keep on storing my images with different tags here, so that when somebody wants to use this image in future, he has to do docker pull. Okay, and that is the next command. So if you want to pull an image, you can simply do docker pull and followed by that image, assuming that image is publicly available. So I can do docker pull alpine, and this will pull the latest image of alpine, and because I had already pulled it before, that's why this process was fast. Next command is to see all the running processes. So if you do docker ps, then it will show all the running containers. So this is one of the container id, and if you want to see all the processes running including the ones which have been stopped before, then you do docker ps minus a, and it will show you everything that has been running, including the ones that have been stopped. So now you know how to see the running containers. What if you want to actually SSH into that container? So if you want to actually get into that container and maybe see the local file system or see the networking inside that, or see some logs in case you are storing the logs in a file, then you can simply SSH into that container following this command: docker exec, then interactive in a terminal followed by the container id, and then sh, and it will open a bash shell inside the container. So now you can see whatever is existing inside the container. Okay, then you can run any Linux commands inside that. So if I run top, I'm seeing the current process. Then I pressed Q to exit, and then I can simply do exit to exit that container. Okay, so this is how you SSH into a container and run commands inside the container. Okay, next is how you can stop and how you can kill a container. So let's say there's a container running, and if you just want to stop it, then you can do docker stop followed by the container ID, and it is stopped. You can verify that by saying that this container ID is missing in this case. Okay, so what if you want to simply kill a container? So kill will immediately kill the container, whereas docker stop will gracefully shut down a container. So if you do docker kill followed by some container ID, then it will immediately kill that, and now that container is missing, you can see. Next one is if you want to log in to your Docker Hub account. So before you are able to push images into your Docker Hub account, you need to log in. So it's simply docker login, and usually, yeah, because I already logged in, that's why it's already succeeded. What if you want to log out? Then docker logout, and it has logged me out. Now if I do docker login again, it will ask me for my credentials. Okay, now I'm logged in. So now if I do docker login again, it shows I'm logged in already. Okay, next is if you want to remove an image. So if you do docker images, you will see all the images that are present locally. So if I want to remove certain image, let's say this image I want to remove, so I have this image ID. Every image has an image ID. So what I can do is docker rmi followed by the image ID. Okay, so docker rm is for containers, whereas docker rmi is for images. Okay, so now that image has been deleted. So if you do docker images again, you won't see that name again. Okay, next is if you want to see all the networks present in docker. So you can do docker network ls, and it will show you all the networks that are present. So until now I have shown you how to create an image and how to stop a running container, but how to run the container. So you can run it by using simply the image name. Okay, so I'm running a standard alpine container right now, and the command is docker container run, and then you can give options. So eventually you give the image name, which is alpine colon 3.9, and here you can give name to your container, and here the name is given web, and the port is 5000. The 5000 port is getting exposed, and it is connecting to the local port of 80. So if I simply run this command, and now if you run docker ps, you can see docker ps all, then you can see the name of the container which we had created. Okay, so because it simply got created and also exited, because there was no further command given to this. Okay, but the container is still there, it's just not running, it has exited. Next is how to look at the logs. So if you do docker container logs, and then if you want to see 100 or last 100 lines of logs, then you can do dash dash tail 100 followed by the name of the container. So in this case there is no log, because that image we ran simply doesn't have any log. Next is to how to stop a container, which I have already shown how to do before, where you basically do docker stop. You can also use docker container stop followed by the name. Okay, so you can do docker stop and you can do docker container stop as well, same thing for killing. The last thing I want to show you is about docker compose. So if you have a docker compose file, which can look something like this. So docker compose is used to run multiple containers which might be dependent on each other at the same time. So this is an example docker compose file which has 4 services running. Okay, 4 containers basically. So if you want to run a docker compose file, then the command is basically docker compose up, and if you want to stop it, then the command is docker compose down. So here I can do docker compose up, and it will start running all the programs. I'll put a link to the this docker compose file which you can directly run. So this docker compose has a front end side which runs on port 8086. So if I go to localhost 8086, I will see this running. So this is the game which basically that docker compose file runs. Okay, and as I'm playing it, you can see the logs here as well. Okay, and then if I want to stop it, I do control C and then do docker compose down to ensure all the processes have been exited gracefully. Okay, so these are all the basic docker commands. If you have any questions, then feel free to ask in the comment section, and if you like this video, then give it a like and subscribe. Cheers.